Now, when we're talking sizes of viruses, you look to the side here. The two big bluish green cells, those are, give you an idea of, yeast cells. Yeast cells, which are smaller than most of your cells. And then you see up at the top there, the pink, the purple, E. coli, Staphylococcus aureus, kind of giving you an idea of the size of these things compared to a eukaryotic cell, much, much smaller. And then you start following down, looking at the sizes of the viruses compared to those. And yeah, they are drawn to scale. They get smaller and smaller and smaller until they're barely a dot. Now here's the thing. Size really doesn't matter to whether or not a virus is infectious, whether it's deadly, damaging, pathogenic to us. Some of the smallest ones, like the polio virus, have wreaked havoc on humans. And the shapes, I mean, look at the shapes. These are electron micrograph pictures that have been, magnified hundreds of thousands of times, well beyond whatever light microscopes could do. And we see that they're different shapes, those geometric shapes we're going to be talking about. When it comes right down to it, viruses are going to be composed of three things: a capsid, genome, the nucleic acid, and may or may not have an envelope. Now, keep in mind, they in no way look like cells. There's no nucleus, there's no organelles, there's no metabolism. So, let's talk the parts of a generalized virus. First off, you have the nucleocapsid. Nucleic acid and the capsid wrapped around it. That's what a nucleocapsid is. The nucleic acid genome could be DNA or RNA, as we're going to see in the later sections. Doesn't matter. It's going to be wrapped with proteins, viral proteins. Depending upon the species, depending on the strain, there may or may not be a membrane wrapped around protecting it. We refer to these viruses as enveloped if they have that membrane that they've stolen from the host cell. Those that don't have or don't utilize a membrane are referred to as naked. All viruses are going to be one or the other. Okay? It's in the genome to be enveloped. It's in the genome to be naked. Can't swap back and forth. If an envelope virus doesn't have the membrane around it, it's not automatically considered naked. It's considered incomplete. And whether it's a naked or an envelope virus, all viruses have protein spikes. These spikes are how they get into our cells. So when you look at it, the two different types, notice the naked. A genome curlicued up in the center, wrapped around by a geometric shape. Each of the facets of that geometric shape, that capsid, made of proteins. And depending upon whether it's naked or enveloped, if it's enveloped, it's going to have a membrane wrapped around it. Either way, whether it's in the envelope or in the capsid, there will be spikes. Each of these capsids, whether it's a naked or an envelope virus, it's going to be composed of polypeptides, proteins. The individual polypeptides, proteins that make up each of the facets are referred to as capsomeres. As the capsomeres are made using host ribosomes, the capsomeres self-assemble. They just lock in together and form those triangular shapes. As more of those triangular shapes are formed, they start forming the overall icosahedron. Or if it's a helical, as you see here in this table, they just start forming this helical pattern, wrapping around the DNA or the RNA. So when we look at viruses, we're going to see there's many different shapes. Icosahedral, helical, and then just plain weird, as you see at the bottom here. That's a bacteriophage, that lunar lander looking thing. Now, whether you're talking the icosahedral or the helical, then you have to add in the extra layer of complexity, whether or not there's an envelope.